Hi, I'm Zack Bateman from Zack Bateman in the Coal Mines. Yeah.
Okay, so what made you want to start a Delta Blues band?
Delta blues and just like the blues in general has always been kind of a inspiration for me, and just the overall vibe and sound. When I was growing up, when I was like 15, I just had like my first breakup ever, and it was just one of my friend's dads, my friend Sam's dad, Vic, was playing Bobby Blue Bland on the radio, and I'd never heard that before. And it just, I don't know, the sound hit me, and I got really into it. And then from that, from Bobby Bland, I started discovering more and more blues artists, and that eventually led me to really, really old school stuff like Delta Blues with Blind Willie Johnson and Robert Johnson and everything. And so I got into that at a really young age in comparison to a lot of people. And I think the thing was I had been in all these different groups. I had been in, a hip hop group for 3 years. I was in a pop punk grunge like '90s revival group for a couple of years, and then I think this came because I wanted to do the thing that originally got me like so into music, and I kind of wanted to pay homage to that while making original songs. So yeah, I think just being really into that kind of music and admiring it and kind of wanting to essentially keep that alive in modern music.
Who do you say you admire the most and why?
That's a tough question. No, there's okay. So there's a bunch of people. There's a bunch of like artists, even comedians and actors and everybody and writers that I'm like really influenced by. But I'd say probably the main one is and anybody who knows me knows this. The main one is Tom Waits, who is an alternative but blues artist. But I don't know, he kind of bends these realms into like gypsy and rock. He kind of does everything. But I think just his overall style and just like his music, I don't know, from when I was really young, that hit me as well. And I've been into him ever since I was like a teenager. And just something about him I always clicked with. And it's not only the music, but it's also just the whole. I don't know. He tells stories. He puts these visuals in his music, or even like if you were to see him live or watch interviews with him, he's got all this fascinating information that just like comes out of nowhere. I think it's all just great. So I'd say Tom Waits is probably like my biggest influence when it comes to most things.
How'd you hear about him?
Well, it's funny. So when I had first heard the blues, like really just took in the blues, not the random like Ella Fitzgerald and stuff that my parents would play me, but like when I had heard Bobby Blue Bland that first time and got really into it, I had a shift supervisor over at Starbucks that I was working at when I was like 16, and he was this big older dude with big white beard and kind of a badass. His name was Marv, and he Bobby Bland started playing on the radio while I was working at Starbucks, and I had just gotten really into him. And I'm like, "Oh, Bobby Bland! I love Bobby Bland. This is awesome." And he's like, "You like the blues?" And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, I love the blues." He's like, "Oh, well," he's like, "you should listen to this Tom Waits guy." I'm like, "Who the fuck is that?" And so he's like, "Listen to this cover he did of the song "Sea of Love." It's an old '50s song that he covered. I listened to it, and it was fucking weird. Like, I had no idea what I should think of it, and I was like, this is ridiculous. And over time, I just kept gravitating back towards it. I was like, that was pretty crazy, but let's just listen to it again. And it just kept happening to where eventually I just grew this crazy love for it. So, yeah.
So what makes this band different than your last bands?
Well, I don't know. Like I said, one of the things, this is the first time that I've actually gotten a chance to do music that I wrote, that is like mainly like my idea and vision, and I have these great players backing me up and like kind of collaborating with me, to where it's not it is songs that I wrote and everything, but it's one of the first times where I could actually be like, hey, like whatever you guys want to do, let's just like jam and everything.